Okay, it is the top of the hour. Guys, thank you guys so much for joining me today. My name is Spencer. I am the Chief Product Officer here at Chronometer.com. And I have a brief presentation for you guys, and then we're going to go through all of our features and hopefully get you guys up and running with the app so that you can get the most out of it as you guys are pursuing your your health and fitness goals for the new year. Thank God, this is the first time I get to show this slide here, 2021. I am not going to miss 2020. I'll tell you that much. So here we go. So what are we going to cover in this webinar? Pretty simple. We're going to go through this brief presentation, an introduction, some housekeeping, just kind of some guidelines for questions, other things like that, a little bit of information. Then we're going to do a screen-by-screen demonstration of all of our features that are available to you on your free account. And we're going to focus on a couple particular areas. Specifically, we're going to go into some additional setup that you can do after you've created your account to really tailor Chronometer for the program that you are going to be following. And then we're going to go through where you guys spend the most effort in the app, and that's going to be logging food. I'm going to show you how to get the most information out of the food that you're logging and how to make it as effortless as possible to log your food every day. And if we have time, we don't always, just because there's usually a lot of questions and stuff. But if we have time, I'll go through some of our data analysis tools as well. And as we go, so we have a Q&A panel. Feel free to add your questions as we go, and I'll be answering them, again, as we go. I'll stop and pause and answer questions as we go relevant to the section that we're in. So yeah, feel free to just ask questions whenever. I prefer if you guys use the Q&A panel rather than the chat. And yeah, that would be really helpful. Thanks. So some quick housekeeping. So we don't give personalized nutrition recommendations. So if you guys are looking for specific help, specific to whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, highly recommend you talk to a healthcare professional, nutritionist, diet coach, whatever the case may be. As a matter of fact, we actually have a directory of nutrition professionals that use our app in their practice. And so I'll point you guys to that towards the end of the webinar. So if you're interested in that, that's where you can find that information. We have, so feature requests. I don't really deal with feature requests here at this webinar. However, there will be a survey at the end of the webinar. You can give some feedback about how it went, how good a job we did, and you'll have some space for telling us a little bit about what we could do to improve your experience with the app. If you like a question, you can always give it a thumbs up it'll pop to the top of the list and I'll get that answered quicker. And if you have any follow-up questions, if we don't get everything that you were looking to find out today, you can always contact us at support@chronometer.com. We have a very responsive CS team. You should get an answer within a day or two. And any replays, so generally speaking, we record all our webinars, we put them up on YouTube, and they should be there within a week or so of recording, so early next week. So if I talk a little fast, I've been accused of that. You can go back and watch the replay up on our YouTube channel, and there are old replays there too, so you can find out anything that you need to know about the app there too. So I wanted to start our discussion today about why use Chronometer instead of all the other apps that are out there. And the answer to that question is pretty simple. We have the highest quality, most accurate data of any of the nutrition tracking applications on the market. We track over 80 micronutrients, and we have our own internal curation team that actually goes and verifies all the data in our database. And what that means for you is that you're not going to see duplicate entries, entries that have bad data or incorrect information, and you're not going to see a lot of errors in that database. We also plug into a number of high quality databases. These are labs that are actually testing food and understanding what the nutrition is on a chemical level. And so we have all that information in our app, again, curated, so there aren't any duplicate information. So you guys have a very smooth search experience. We also accept user submissions. However, our curation team always vets all of those submissions. So if there is ever any issue with any of those things, we can easily deal with that. And we don't make it public information until we've made sure that that information is accurate. And so ultimately, though, because we track over 80 micronutrients, it kind of goes to our philosophy. We believe that the foundation of a healthy diet and health through your diet is going to be built on understanding your micronutrition. And we have built the app around understanding that data. Uh, and we also have built-in data analysis tools to understand that data on a deeper level, not just on a day-to-day level, which you'll see in a little bit when we get to looking at the app. And because we focus on this foundation, these micronutrients that are important to a healthy diet, you're going to find that any style of eating, you can basically run any program, any style of eating through the app because we focus on these micronutrients. These micronutrients are important no matter the diet or the program that you're trying to follow. Vegans, keto, paleo, all and everything in between. You guys all need the similar anyway micronutrient requirements throughout the day. So finally, we're secure. So we really believe that you, the user, owns your own data. We never sell that data to third party, and at any time you could take all your data off our system, download it to your machine, and delete your account. Now, we obviously don't prefer that. We prefer that you stick around, you use the app for as long as you want. But that's one of our principles, and we believe that, and that's just something that we do with our app and the way we structure it. We also use end-to-end encryption. We also have a two-factor authentication feature in case you want to make your account a little more secure. So it's just one of the principles that we have, and that's how we build our app. So I mentioned earlier that we have some professionals that use our app, and actually what they're using is a professional version of Chronometer. And what that allows them to do, it allows them to work with patients, work with clients who need extra help. And even some of these larger institutions here are using Chronometer for things like clinical and academic research, or to run patients through a nutrition program for various, purposes in hospital setting. And so we've been fortunate enough to build these relationships over time. And this is just a few of the bigger institutions that we work with on a regular basis. And we work with everyone from the kind of these larger institutions here to the smaller individual coach, nutritionist, or trainer who's just trying to help you get back on track with your nutrition. And again, we have a set of pros that I can show you our directory. If you're interested in working with them, we'll get to that at the end of the webinar. So that's the end of the presentation here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just get a quick little bit of setup here. Close that. So we're going to go over things both in the web app and the mobile app, because we have some of you guys are probably using one or both of our platforms. So what I'm going to do today is show you all the different actions you can take or in the app on both platforms. So I'm going to start with the web app. And I'm going to show those things. Then we'll jump over to the mobile app. And again, if you guys have questions at any point, feel free to type those up in the Q&A section. So to start, we're going to start actually in the settings tab. So the reason I want to start here, right here, is I want to show you guys a little bit more, some additional setup that you guys can do as you are, first setting up your account. If you have a specific program that you want to follow, this is how you would go about setting it up. So on the web page, the first place you want to go is the profile tab under settings. So you're going to see here a bunch of information, that some of which you've already filled out, the things that you would have filled out when you created your account. Your sex, your birthday, current weight, and your height. Those are all things you filled out when you created your account. The next is your basal metabolic rate. We use an equation to calculate that, and that's just the calories that you burn for being alive, your heart beating, all the other bodily functions that you engage in involuntarily. So not something you guys really need to worry about unless you're working with a healthcare professional who might have some input as to why you might change that. So don't worry about it for now. The setting that I do want to spend some time on is this one, the activity level, right down here. So activity level is a way for Chronometer to capture some additional caloric burn throughout the day based on the activity that you might be engaging in. And I'll say this from the outset, this is a somewhat subjective setting that allows us to account for activity throughout the day. So for example, myself, I sit at my desk all day. I work from home. So what ends up happening is I generally just set it to sedentary, and that will capture all of my daily activity, like getting up and going to fix myself a snack in the kitchen, going to kind of put my daughter down for a nap, stuff like that. That generally is what I use, and what we tend to advise people is people tend to fall in a few different buckets. So the first one is if you have a device, say a Fitbit, a Garmin, some other device that actually tracks your calories burned and your activity throughout the day, generally speaking, we would say set your activity level to none, because those devices are going to capture all of your caloric burn throughout the day. And I will show you a little bit later how to import all that information into Chronometer. You can just link up your Fitbit or your other device to Chronometer, and we'll just pull that in every day. So you don't really need any activity you don't need to account for any extra activity using this setting. So none is great. Now, if you're like me, you basically sit around all day for your job, but you might say log your workouts separately, and log other big activities like hiking or the workouts. Then I would say, and for most of us this is going to be true, sedentary is the way you want to go. It's going to account for those basic activities that you're performing every day, and then if you're logging your exercise, which we'll get into in a little bit later, will account for that'll account pretty accurately for all the calories that you're burning. Now, then we get into the more subjective side of things. If you're active, if you have a job that you're on your feet all the day for, or you're working something really taxing, like construction or something like that, then you might want to consider, or and you're not working out, or sorry, and you're not logging your exercises, then you might want to consider the higher settings here, like moderately active, very active, etc. So so that's generally how I explain to use this setting to get the best read on what it is you're doing. So in the other column here, we have a few other settings like current weight and height. We've talked about those, and those were part of your account setup. We also have body fat percentage. So if you know your body fat percentage, you can update that here. Just click update. If you don't know it, don't worry. We estimate it based on the other body details that you've given us when you created your account. And what we use this measurement for is when we determine your macronutrient targets. I'll show you how we incorporate that in just a minute. But if you know this, great. If not, no big deal. BMI, this is something we calculate for you based on those other factors that you've already entered. Then we're going to jump over to targets. So the targets tab here. We have our macronutrients target section at the top. Now, this is going to be the most important section for when you're setting up some kind of program for yourself. We have a number of different options here. We're going to start by looking at macro ratios. Now, before we do that, we're going to look at, sorry, I'm just working on my Zoom here. The first question you want to answer when you're setting this up is, how do you want to track your carbohydrates? So we give you a few different options here. You can track your total carbs. So starches, sugars, fiber, every carb will be counted towards your totals. Or you can track only net carbs. So net carbs, that would be starches, sugars, etc. But we don't count those insoluble fibers that are not actually used by the body. And we can also make a distinction between net carbs with or without sugar alcohols. So sugar alcohols are generally they're a sweetener that is used in lower carb diets because they don't really have any carbs in them, or they don't have a high glycemic response. So Whether, if you're not familiar with that, just don't worry about it. Just count them towards your net carbs. But if you have an opinion, you can choose which way you'd like to count those sugar alcohols and whether or not you want total carbs or net carbs. So that's the first question you want to answer. The next is how you actually want to track your macro targets. This is how many calories you're getting from each of the major macronutrients, so protein, fats, and carbohydrates. By default, when you create your account, you're going to have the macro ratios setting selected by default. So what this is just a simple ratio. I mean, it's a pretty standard thing. Any diet program that you find on the web will generally have some recommended ratio of macros, but it's pretty straightforward. So we can take a look here. So if I set a ratio, so 2, 3, 2 here, you're going to see down below we have 29%, 43%, and 29%. And what that means is that with this ratio, 29% of my calories are going to be coming from protein, and 43% would be coming from carbs, and 29% from fat. And so you can adjust this to however you want. And what's really cool about this particular setting, and Jerry, we'll get to that question right away. We're going to just go through all of those options up top here. What's really cool about the macro settings is this is a dynamic calculation. So what that means is you entered your weight when you created your account. And as you lose weight or gain weight, whatever your goal is, this number of calories, these targets will actually dynamically adjust as you enter or you log those weights in your new weight in the diary. So let's say, I might have been at, 300 grams of protein. That's actually a lot. Maybe let's say more like 100 grams of protein per day. Maybe I'm down to 95 after I've lost a few pounds and don't actually require as many calories to hit whatever goals I have set for myself. So it's great because it adjusts as you make progress. Now, the next setting we have is fixed values. So fixed values is unlike the ratios where we're kind of dynamically calculating your targets based on your weight and whatever other factor we take in there. You actually can set specific targets that will not change over time. So if you want some very strict setting that you want to always try to adhere to, then you can do that. So, and we do this by, you can set an overall energy target. You can set a in grams a value for each of the macronutrients. So this is a great way to, if you want to be real strict, you can always set that up this way and make manually adjustments if you want. Finally, the ketogenic calculator. Let's see. So this is going to be obviously for the ketogenic diet, and this is another dynamic calculation. So the way we do it, the way we do this one is we look at the kilograms of lean body mass. So that's where that body fat percentage measure comes into play. So we'll take a look at that percentage. We'll calculate your lean body mass. So in this case, on this account, I had 23% lean body mass. So that means I have 68 kilograms of lean body mass. So we take that amount, that 68 kilograms, we multiply that by this multiplier right here. You set that yourself. And we multiply that out to get the grams of protein per day. And so you can set whatever multiplier you want there. So that means I have 68 grams of protein per day based on my numbers in this account so far. The next setting is going to be how many carbohydrates you want to have per day. So generally it's a low number if it's ketogenic diet, but what you can do is you can say, basically set a fixed amount in grams of how many carbohydrates, and those carbohydrates will reflect your carb setting up here. So that'll change as you change your setting. And then, so now we know 2 of the 3 values for your calorie set or your macro targets. The rest of your calories will calculate from fat. So that's generally how we calculate your ketogenic macro targets. And then we also have this option called athletic bonus. So what you can do is you can turn this on if you want. And what it'll do is if you're logging your exercise in Chronometer, for every 50 calories of exercise that you log, so you're burning 50 calories, we're going to allow you an extra gram of carbohydrates. So that gives you a little bit of flexibility in order to, up your carbohydrates if you're training and things like that. So Jerry and Tina, I'm going to get to those questions right after I get through this section. Hopefully we'll get most of your questions answered as we go through this stuff. So this is how you're going to be setting your overall macro targets. In fixed values, you set your energy target specifically. I'm going to skip nutrient targets for a second and just go right to weight goal, because now what your weight goal will do is it will determine your overall caloric deficit that you need to maintain, or surplus that you need to maintain in order to reach your goal. So if you want to lose, say, a pound a week, zoom in down here, so I can set a goal timeline here. If I want to lose a pound a week, I need to run an average of a 500 calorie deficit per day. So this will give you a rough estimate of that. And you can do that in half-pound increments. Now, if you set this to a pound and a half to 2 pounds a week, or sorry, a week, that's a pretty aggressive setting. Highly recommend you talk to a healthcare practitioner before you go so aggressively towards that particular goal. But yeah, so what you would do in here is you create, you set your current weight, which would be set up by default when you create your account. And then you can also set your goal weight as well. And then what you can do in here is I have this setting enabled. This is going to tell you exactly how many calories you have left to eat for the day in order to hit your required caloric deficit. So we'll take a look at that when we look at the diary. You'll get a clearer picture of what that setting does. And we'll show you over on the left side here, or the right side here, what your timeline looks like if you are able to hit that weight loss goal every week. And so so this is what would determine your overall energy target, because now that we have all your body information, we've calculated that's the kind of baseline stuff. You set your macro targets. That's going to determine what calories are coming from which macro. And then you set your weight goal. That's going to determine your overall caloric deficit that you have to hit. So let me just take a quick look at these questions here. So when you track macros as fixed values, what effect does the calories target have? Does it ignore caloric deficits? So Jerry, basically what's going to be happening there is if you set a caloric target using fixed values, you have to be a little more conscious of your caloric deficit that you want to maintain, because we won't calculate it for you because you've set that fixed value. We can't use a dynamic calculation based on your requirement then. We do have some improvements coming out that won't be the case anymore. You'll be able to see what deficit you're actually in relative to where our baseline has you, but that feature's coming in the next month or two. For now, you just have to be conscious. If you're picking a caloric target using fixed values, you need to make sure that you are conscious why you're picking that target. And so does it ignore caloric deficits? So technically it does ignore caloric deficits, but you can put yourself in a deficit if you set a caloric target that is below what your body requires. Cool. Sweet. Let's see. So Tina, in the fixed value section, if you mainly implement from macros that don't add up correctly, yeah, so we don't give you an error if you do that. So the reason we don't is because there are a lot of different reasons people enter in different targets. Maybe they're managing specific medical conditions, or they have different requirements. So we do allow you to do that only for flexibility reasons. Generally speaking, we wouldn't recommend it unless there were a reason to do it. But for the most part, if you have a program that you want to follow, it generally you won't fall outside our settings there. So no error, I guess is what I'm saying. So great, Jerry. And we have one more here. If I set the activity, okay, so this is a great question. So Eddie, if I set the activity level to moderate, can I log exercise as well? It depends, right? So the reason that the question is, why are you setting your activity level to moderate? If you're setting your activity level to moderate to, say, capture the fact that you're running around all day for your job, then and then you go do a separate workout, which you log separately in Chronometer, then fine, right? But if you set your activity level to moderate to account for your exercise, and or I should say all your activity throughout the day, including your exercise, but then you log your exercise separately in Chronometer, then there's a chance that you're going to get an overestimate of how many calories are burned. So if again, this is where that subjective part of the setting comes into play. If you're choosing moderate because of a highly active job that you can't really track, you don't know, you don't have a device and you're not really sure how many calories you're burning, that's where that would come into play. If you're logging your exercise separately, great, then you'll get a more accurate version. But that's generally how that falls. I hope that answers your question. Cool. So now, before we move on to the diary page, I just want to show you guys where to access these settings on the mobile app. It's pretty straightforward. So you just go to the settings tab here. So where we're going to go, you just scroll down. You have your account settings up top here. Whoops, excuse me. We have the profile section, which has all the information that we just talked about in the profile on the web. And you can adjust any one of these things here by tapping on it. So we'll look at activity level. Here are all our settings. You can put in a custom activity level too if you really wanted to. I don't really have any reason to, but if you have some, you can. And then you go back here, and then below that, we're going to have targets. So we have a few different options here. First, oh, I just realized I did not go into nutrient targets. Let me do that real quick. So nutrient targets. So one of the things that is really great about Chronometer is that all of your daily targets are customizable. And we can see here just how many micronutrients we actually track. So there's quite a few, not even so when we get to the diary, you'll see this. Not all of them are even visible because we are throwing a lot of information at you every day. And so you guys can actually customize all of this stuff. You can choose whether or not to see it. And you can also set, this is the powerful part, you can set custom values. So if you know you have some special need around, say, a vitamin or a mineral, I can set a custom value here, go in, type it, set a minimum and a maximum value for the day, and then I can, then we'll gauge it based on that new value. So again, if you have those targets, maybe you're working with that healthcare professional and you know that you have these particular needs, you can come in here and customize the entire set of micronutrient targets personalized to you. Surely I'll get to that in just one second. And back to the mobile app here, you have your macronutrient targets. You can tap on that here. And again, you're going to be able to see all your different options for carb tracking, all your different options for macro tracking, and you can set that all up in the mobile app very easily. So we hop back, and then weight goal. Again, you can set that current weight, your goal weight, show the weight goal, and then you can choose what your weight loss rate is going to be. Cool. So now we'll jump back to the diary here, hop back to the web. Let's see. So Shirley, yeah. So what is the basic macro ratio for the average person? So it really, this is kind of getting into the whole nutrition advice thing. I don't actually know if there's one for the average person, to be honest. I think there might be a recommended one. The one that we use by default is probably, so I'll say this. When you create your account, and you'll notice this on the nutrient targets panel and other places in the app, we use as a reference the Office of Dietary Supplements, which is a government body, regulatory body. They have recommended daily allowances for calories, micronutrients, all that for individuals based on their height, weight, and age. And so it really depends. So there's really no average person in this in this answer. It really depends on your height, weight, age, and some other body details in terms of what your targets are. And so we set all those targets by default when you create your account. Obviously, you're welcome to customize all of that, but that is the baseline that we use. So I hope that answers your question. I can't really say what the best or the basic macro ratio is for the average person, because I don't think there really is one. Okay. I was wondering if Chronometer plans to add purines to micronutrient targets in the near future. I don't know of a plan for that. However, I will ask. So we employ as part of our curation team, we have a nutrition scientist on staff, and she's always looking to add new information to our data set. So I'll see what she's been looking at and if purines are on the list there. So I don't know if I know what those are, so I'm not the best person to ask. So thank you, Liana, or Leon. Hopefully I get that right. All right, Michael, if a barcode isn't recognized, I take a picture. Cool. Done recognized. If foods aren't recognized. Okay, Michael. Yeah, so you're getting ahead of a little bit ahead of us. I'm going to go into the barcode scanner feature in a little bit, because that is a cool feature. But yes, you're right. If it doesn't recognize the label, maybe it's a non-standard label, we can't shortcut that, unfortunately. But that's just a limitation of the technology. It's always getting better, but we can't always guarantee that it's going to work either, especially on non-standard food labels. All right, so moving on. So we're going to scroll up to the top here. We're going to go to the diary page. So before we get into how to add food and all the kind of basic commands that you're going to want to do as a user, we're just going to I'm going to break down the overall structure of the diary, so you know where the information is and how to use it and how to make sense of it too. So up top here, we have our food log, which you're going to notice I have diary groups. This is a gold feature that's part of our paid subscription, so you won't have that on your free account. So in case you're going to ask, hey, how do I get those diary groups? It's part of our paid subscription. Now, we do have a gold webinar that we do every Wednesday. So tomorrow, for example, where we go through all of our gold features and kind of show you what what you get with your subscription. So if you guys are interested in that, I'll post it up in the chat for you guys if you're curious to join. I'll post that link towards the end there. Oh, thank you, Tina. That's great. Cool. Yeah. So breaking down this real quick. So what we have here is the food log here. So this is where all that food is going to be logged up here. You're going to have the opportunity to log exercise as well as biometrics. So any data on on body details or blood levels or anything like that, you can log all in this area with these action buttons up top here. We'll get into that more a little later. Now below that, we have a number of quite a few bits of data here for you guys to look at that will both summarize and break down a whole bunch of different things on how your diet is for the day. So the first section here is the calorie summary. This is going to show you exactly how many calories you consumed, gross calories that you consumed over the day. And we're going to break that down by macros. You can see the little colors there, and mousing over gets you a little more description. You can also see how many calories you've burned for the day as well. Again, you have some color codes here. There's my activity level setting that accounts for about 15% of my calories, exercise as well. And then we have the budget over here, calories remaining. So earlier I showed you guys how to set those settings up, what your caloric deficit is, and whether or not you want to show that weight goal in the diary. Well, the calorie budget is telling me that I have exactly 1,076 calories left to eat for the day. So this is great for those of you who don't want to do any math and they want to know exactly how many calories you have left for the day. And then if you mouse over, you're going to get a little description there of what your caloric deficit actually is currently and what you need to eat to actually be losing some weight or gaining, depending on your goal. So then we have our macronutrient targets section. So this is going to show you your progress towards all of your macro targets for the day. So as you can see, I've got most of my protein, they're my net carbs, which is my setting that I've chosen, my fats, and my overall energy target. And there's going to be a couple different numbers in here. You see that 543 net calories. That's because I have some exercise added here. That just means that I get a little bit of extra calories for the day. And then my total score here. Now you notice that these tooltips are popping up anytime I mouse over one of these gauges. One of the things you can see here, so I'll see if I can zoom in on this. I'm not sure if it'll work. Oh, it does. Great. So it didn't work, sir. Sorry about that. Cool. So check this out. Yeah. So if I mouse over this and it's just, there we go. If I mouse over any of the gauges on the diary, you're going to be able to see the foods that are actually contributing to these nutrients, in ranked order. So this is a great way for you to spot trouble foods that might be throwing off your numbers or like kind of, knocking you off a certain diet. Like, it's a great way to just spot those and see where your calories and your different nutrients are actually coming from. So you can do that with any of the gauges that you're going to see here. So that is our macronutrient target section. Then we have our giant set of individual micronutrients that are basically, it's built so at a glance, you can see how you're doing with your nutrition. So you can see the yellow gauges there. Those are the nutrients that I haven't hit my minimum target for the day. I still have a ways to go. But the green gauges, those are the ones that I am within the range, the correct range. There's a minimum, target amount and a maximum allowable amount. When you're green, you're good. You're in that range that you should be in, the healthy range for the day. And if you have a red gauge here, that means you're above your target amount for the day, right? So you can easily see, again, you see those little tooltips popping up telling you how much food or which foods are contributing to each of these things. And you can click on any of these gauges to see what your daily target is, what your threshold is, and you can even set up custom values for those things here as well. And we also have a highlighted nutrients section. So if there are any nutrients you really want to pay attention to without having to search through this long list, you can always set those up here just by going to the settings, display, and highlighted nutrients section. You just choose which ones you want. So back to the diary here. Let's see. So I'm going to start on we're just going to take a quick look at the mobile app. So on the diary page here, you can see you have your scrollable area. You have I have my diary groups anyway. You can tap on, actually I'll get to that in a second. You have a set of widgets up here you can swipe through. They're going to show you basically all the information that you see at the bottom sections of the diary. It's my fast, so don't do that. You can get a sense of that. And then if you want to see this huge summary that you see down below and get a sense of how you're doing with all your nutrition, go to daily report. So that's going to bring you to this screen here. That's going to contain all of that information, all the different categories of nutrients, how you're doing on each one, etc. So that's how you would do that. So now let's talk about how to get the best data out of the food that you're logging. So first, we're going to start with just by clicking in add a food. First, so there's several things here. So we want to show you how to reduce the effort and the time it takes you to log your food every day. And we want to show you how to pick the best foods for to get the best data. So when you first start logging food on Chronometer, we don't actually have a memory of the foods that you like. But as you continue to log foods, we're going to bring up the foods. When you open this dialog, we're going to bring up the foods that you use the most. So if you tend to eat the same types of things most of the time, you're going to get a list of items that you use a lot right here. So that's our first shortcut, right? Now, any of these things, when you look at any of these items on the list, you're going to see a set of icons over on the right-hand column. And so I'm just going to zoom in here. You're going to notice that there, for this list anyway, there's a set of these red, what are a lab beaker icons. And what that denotes is it denotes a food item that has tons of data behind it, meaning it was tested in a lab and it will, you know, you can be sure that there's a lot of data. So if I click on this right here, so I clicked on bacon, chosen at random. Um, you can see that we have 77 listed nutrients for this food, meaning we have data for 77 nutrients. That is great. That is a wonderful, robust set of data for a particular food item. Now, let's say we searched a brand name item, Trader Joe's rolled oats, let's say. So now we'll scroll down. You see that all these different icons here. This is a different icon. It's a barcode icon, meaning it's a store-bought, food manufactured, branded item. And so down below here, you can see we only have 17 listed nutrients for that particular item. Now, which is not great. I mean, we want to see more data on our foods, but unfortunately, you know, food manufacturers, the stuff you buy in the store that are branded and all that, you aren't going to get that. They're not required to provide any information or very much information on the nutrition in a food. That's why the first piece of advice really is to search your food as if it did not have a brand name when applicable, right? That's not going to work for everything. But for this one, we do know like rolled oats is a pretty common food. It's not like a prepared meal. So you can always just search rolled oats and get a much better item. Now, if you do search the branded item, don't worry, because at the very bottom here, we will hopefully recognize most of the time when you have picked a branded item that we have better data for. So for example, this one only has 17 listed nutrients, but we have an item that has 77 called oatmeal regular or quick dry. It's roughly the same thing. Click on that. Now we have this new item loaded up and you're going to get better data out of that. So you always want to be conscious of what icon is. That's a nice little shorthand to look at. And that'll tell you that you're getting a good high quality data item. So the other thing that I'll show you guys, so this is another shortcut to hopefully get your foods logged faster. You can create a favorites list. So if I were to click on, actually I'll go back to all here. So if I click on, let's say salt, already favorited, sweet potato, here we go. We have a star next to the item down here. All you have to do is click that star and then it will appear under the favorites tab here. And now if you're working, so this is a great way if you're working in a specific diet that has a restricted foods list or something like that, you can set up all the foods you're allowed to eat in your favorites. So that way you go right to your favorites, you pick the foods that you're allowed to eat. Very, very simple. And so that's one of the ways you can use it, but there's plenty of ways. You can put all your favorite foods on there and you can find them pretty quickly. You can also go to the common foods tab. Now this tab is important because it's going to have results it's only results that are the high quality lab tested items. So if you generally we recommend, if you really want that good data, start searching in the common foods tab. And then if you still can't find what you're looking for, that's when you expand out, maybe go to all or the brands or restaurants or something like that. And so this is a great place to find that high quality data though. So supplements next, we have a wide range of supplements. We actually flag supplements in our database. And as we get to some of the reporting tools you'll see, we allow you to kind of separate out supplements so you can see how much of your nutrition is coming from real food. But you can always search supplements here. The brands and restaurants tabs, those are pretty straightforward. Those are going to have your store-bought brands, your restaurant brands, and all that kind of stuff. Some of the brands, as a matter of fact, we have some really good data for. As you can see, it has the red icons. But others, not so much, but we have coverage where we can. Now, we're always balancing coverage, meaning you're finding the foods that you're looking for, with the good data that you can actually use to make proper decisions about your diet. So finally, we have our custom tab. Now we're going to get into this later. I'm going to show you how to create custom foods and recipes, but the custom tab here is going to show all of the ones that you've created are going to show up here for you to use. So if you have your own recipe for baked macaroni, you can always put that into Chronometer, and then you're going to be able to search and find that and log that like any other food. So we'll close that out. So that's searching food. Now I'm going to show you guys a few extra tricks on the mobile app here. So what are we going to do? We're going to go to, I'll just go to an empty day. So if I go hit the plus button down here, now I have add food. So here we have all the food, my food list here. One of the things I can do is I can go to this icon here. I'll tap it and I can get all the filters that we talked about earlier, you know, common favorites, etc. I can even sort the list of foods in different ways. I can even choose which database, which specific database you want, if that's something that you want to do. But the cool feature that we have on mobile that we don't have on web yet is enable multi-add. So I'm going to go ahead and enable that. Now, instead of that list just being select one item, log it, now what I can do is I can go tap, 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 oops, tap, 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 and I'm going to go add to diary, and I now have added 6 different items in, you know, very little time. Whereas in, you know, as you're getting used to the app, you might want to search things out one at a time. But once you have that list built, you have your favorites and you have the amounts that you like to use, all you have to do is use enable multi-add to just quickly add items very quickly. So that's the first trick that I'd show you on the mobile. And again, the same thing goes, you probably noticed in that we have our NCCDBs and all the different database names. There's our custom recipe. The other thing that you can do, and this is great. Let me see if I have this around. I do. All right, awesome. So the other thing you can do, let's see if I can find, I just need to find a barcode, guys. 1 second. Okay, cool. So the other thing you can do is tap the plus button. We have this scan barcode option, right? So if I scan barcode, so it's going to go to, see if I can find that. Here we go. Here's a barcode of a non-food item. So it just attempted to scan the barcode. And if I have this food in the database, it would just bring it up just like I was searching something. I could log it, all good. But now because I don't have an item here for that barcode that matches that barcode, what I can do is I can go ahead and tap create new. And what I'll do is I'll actually take a picture of the nutrition label. Okay, I'm going to use that photo. I'll take a picture of the front of the label too. Theo chocolate, delicious. Oops, that didn't take well, but that's okay. So now you'll notice that on the mobile app, we see autofill successful. This means, tap next, that all of the information that was on the bar, so serving name, serving weight, my nutrition information, everything from that label is now entered into the mobile app without you guys having to manually enter that in yourself. So this is a great way to quickly add foods that you buy from the store that have a nutrition label. You can just log those super easy and without having to enter in all that information yourself. So great little trick to use on the mobile app. Highly recommend. If you have something with a barcode, use the mobile app to scan it. Okay. So I'm not gonna save those things. So so then the next thing that I want to show you guys, so I'll pause real quick. You guys have any questions? So I'm going to move on to what is essentially diary management next. So now that we have a whole bunch of different items logged, how do we manage that stuff? How do we copy and paste? How do we delete? How do we maybe set up a template for a day and then use it on another? So we're going to jump into that now. And because I don't see any questions, we'll just get right into it. So what we can do is we can, let's say, if I right click on an item, I can get a little additional options menu here. I can view the food, I can copy and selected it, or I can copy the selected item. And there are a few other options here, but I'm gonna go ahead and copy it. Now, if I go somewhere else and I right click, I will have the option to paste, and there it is, right? So you can right click and delete, yes. You can even go in here and change the amount of what you ate by clicking on that number. Or you can click on and change the unit of the item as well. So in this case, I'll change that to grams. And you'll notice that that 1 changed to a 14. What happens when you change the unit is we actually convert the old amount in the old unit to the old amount in the new unit. So this was one, I think, tablespoon, and it got converted to 14 grams when I switched to grams. Very good. So again, you can modify any of these things that you want. Now, if I wanted to, you can multi-select on the web by holding down Shift and clicking, left clicking. To highlight several items, you can right click those and then copy. Now, what's really cool about this is now if I have a good meal or I just want to copy a day, I can go to a day in the future. I can go anywhere on that day. I'll just go ahead and paste it. And then all those items are pasted in the same amount in the order. But let's say, go ahead and clear this day out, clear all. But let's say you had a great day of eating. It's a day that you're probably going to try to stick to because it's something that, you know, you followed your program well or whatever the case may be. You have an option up here in this More Options menu called Copy Previous Day. So if I click that, what's going to happen is everything from the previous day is going to be pasted to the current day in the order that it appeared in that day. So now if I had the same food essentially for this day, I could just go in and change those amounts if I need to. I could, you know, I could do pretty much whatever editing I needed to do in order to capture the proper changes that I made to the day over time, or differences between the day. So this is a great way if you follow a template and you're eating the same thing pretty often, you can come in here and use the copy paste feature to prevent having to go through logging all those things individually again. Now, another option you have here is called copy current day. So nothing really happened when I clicked it, but if I could jump to a day in the future where there's nothing or maybe stuff in the previous day that I don't want to copy, I can go paste, and it will take the information from that day that I copied and again paste it in the day exactly how it was pasted at the time or entered at the time. So again, you can go in here and you can edit all that stuff. Let's see. Wow, time flies. Okay. Let's see. Though that's how you manage your diary. Now on the mobile app, it's a little bit different. You have a couple different options here. You can drag and drop. That's by tapping and holding down there. You can swipe to the right there and you'll reveal this extra options menu where you can copy that. And then you can go to any of the options here. You can swipe right again, open that menu, and you can paste. And then it'll paste it just below the item that I opened there. If I swipe to the left, I can delete it, or I can just do it that way. You also have in this More Options menu on the mobile app, yeah, Liana, we've had a lot of requests for Whoop. I think that's moving higher and higher on our priority list, but we don't integrate it with it yet. It's a plan though, it's on the plan. So then you have your More Options menu up here with this button on the mobile app. Now you have your same options here, copy current day, copy previous day, but you also have this option called multi-select. So what that allows you to do, it allows you to select multiple items. And then if I tap on that three-dot menu again, I can copy those items. Let's jump to a day in the future. And let's paste those items. There they are. So you have a lot of different options on the mobile app to basically do the same type of diary management that I described on the web. Now, wow, we are running low on time, but I really want to show you this, guys. The one feature that I think you guys really should know about is how to use our recipe editor as a meal planner. So one of the things that I find is the most difficult for people when they start tracking is just how much effort they have to put in. But one of the things that we do with our recipe editor is we allow you guys to actually create full daily meal plans with it and easily log an entire day of eating in just a few minutes. So I'm going to try to run through that very quickly. And I apologize if it goes a little fast, but hopefully you guys can see the power in the feature. So what I'm going to do when we go, first you go to your foods tab, and we have a custom recipes. So this is if you're baking, like say, the base case here is you're maybe making a recipe that requires a couple different ingredients. So we're gonna go ahead and add a recipe. I can enter a name for that recipe. I can create category and tags and put in much data as I want to it. So I can say maybe, hey, this is a fruit and fruit juices, it's vegan, and it's like that. And it's also vegetarian if it's vegan, I suppose. So I can tag it. I can do all kinds of things. I can put in some preparation instructions here. I can set a number of different serving sizes. So if I make a lasagna, it serves 8. I can set that up here. 1 serving, and I can put in any number of serving sizes that you want. So then adding ingredients is really what it comes down to. You add the ingredients of, let's say, all the things you want there. Let's add some bacon. Let's add some olive oil. Let's add some. You certainly can, and connect with your Apple Watch. I don't actually, so we connect with Apple Health. So you can connect Apple Health and we will to Apple Health, and we will read in all your health information off of that, various things that we track. I don't know if we connect with Apple Watch specifically, but as long as you're generating health data, you can connect with Apple Health on your mobile app, and that will allow you to pull in all that data and use our app for it, for sure. So I don't know if there's something specific about the Apple Watch that you're asking about, but we connect with Apple Health. So. So yeah, so now that I have my ingredients, what you can see here is I have all the nutrition information for that recipe. And I can also break it down by serving size as well. So I can see how much one of each of these servings actually has in it. So that's all well and good. I've created this food. It's now going to be something that I can log any time of the week, or any day of the week. But here's the real cool part. If I go to, let's say I'm going to just change that. I want to save that. So let's go to dinner 1, right? So I've created this recipe called dinner 1, and what's in it are several other custom recipes. So I have my Mediterranean couscous, my avocado fritters, and some sauteed chicken with spinach, right? So now I have basically put in nested custom recipes. I can take that a step further, and instead of just a meal, say my dinner, I can say, all right, well, meal plan day 1, I have my breakfast, my lunch, and my dinner meals in there. And so what this creates is a single item that you have to search, or that you can search, and you can log it and get all of your daily nutrition from. So in practice, I'll show you what that looks like. So let's jump to an empty day. So I'm going to go ahead and go to add food. I'm going to go to, I'll search out meal plan. Meal plan day 1 here, go to this one. I will add that. So now with just logging one item, here's all my nutrition information filled out for the day. However, I don't necessarily know what I'm eating. So I'm going to go ahead and right click that. There's going to be an option here called explode recipe. Excuse me. Go ahead and explode that. Now all of the individual ingredients are now broken out of that recipe. So in my case, because I have my diary groups, I'll just move those around as I need to. And then what I can do is I can actually break all of these up exactly how I need to. So for breakfast, I can say explode, explode, explode. And now in less than a minute, I have my entire day of food logged. And I know exactly what I need to eat and exactly how much I need to eat. And so this is a great way. This is a great way to basically plan out your meals and plan out your week and get a better handle on logging your food in a consistent manner. This is the way that I do my logging. I plan out my meals, and this is how I log my food. Now, it does take some upfront work to get in all your recipes, to get in your food that you want to be tracking. But once you get that, it's so powerful, and you can just do this over and over. And it's a great little trick that you guys should know about. Now you can do the same thing on the mobile app as well. So if you go to the foods tab down here, you can go to create recipe. You can add the ingredients just like I showed you before. Oops. I am fat fingering that so bad. Okay, there we go. I can add those. There are my ingredients. I can name the recipe. And then I can create my serving sizes, my preparation instructions and categories, and I can see all the nutrition. And then I add that. Now, if I wanted to go back to the diary, I can, let me go ahead and add, here's a meal plan, added. Okay. Oops, cancel. Oh, I have multi-select on, that's why. So now I have my meal plan. If I swipe to the right, I get that more options menu where that explode recipe is going to be. If I tap that, I now have all my meals opened up and ready to go. And again, you can just manage all that from the mobile app. So gosh, oh my God, that is all we have time for. So Brenda, so we do not export specifically to MyFitnessPal. You can actually download all your data from the app. You can download that into a spreadsheet, but we don't actually work to import to another app. And likewise, they don't let you import from MyFitnessPal to us either. It's just, competition, I suppose. So, yeah, so that's that. So I just want to show you a few other things. If you guys need any other help with the app, there's going to be, I'm glad, thank you guys. I'm glad it was helpful. So you go to our help tab. This is where you can find our professional directory. You can search out people who are near you or people you're interested in by specialty as well. We have our YouTube channel with all our replays and other informational videos, our manual, a user manual. So if there's anything that you want to look up and read about in our app, you can do that here. We also have community forums and contact support as well. We have, oh my gosh. All right. So let me see if I can find this quickly for you guys. We have our gold webinar tomorrow. I'm going to post that up in the chat. Let's see if I can get this quickly. And this is the link. If you guys want to register for this, you're more than welcome to attend. And like, this is where we're going to go through all of our gold features. And you'll just see how the app is different and what kind of value you will get when, when you sign up for gold. So I know it was rushed at the end there, guys. I'm a little rusty. I haven't done this in like 3 weeks. So, but it's great. It's a new year. I wish you guys the best of luck with all of, with the app. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to email us at support. Again, my name's Spencer. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Yeah, cool. I don't see any other questions. I'll stick around for another minute if there are any, but if not, have a great afternoon, guys.